Nahmaduhu wa nusallimu ala rasulihil kareem wa ba'du. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today I would like to present one of the important chapters that was developed and written by Professor Jaser Auda. Book name is Re-Envisioning Islamic Scholarship, Maqasid Methodology as a New Approach. In this book, Professor Jaser Auda articulates some important ideas based on Maqasid Sharia. Basically, Professor Jaser Auda included 6 main chapters. Every chapter has unique ideas, unique discourse, but core idea is how we are going to revive our knowledge paradigm developed throughout the history. Some serious concerns put up into classical classification of knowledge developed and forwarded by previous scholars, previous contributions. Also, he tries to forward some new ideas, some new classifications, insights that we need to understand and debate. So very interestingly, he argues the things that are very related and relevant to our context. Therefore, I selected this book and chapter, particularly 6th chapter. The chapter is Re-Envisioning Islamic Studies via the Maqasid methodology. That is the name of the chapter, which is 6th chapter. Interestingly and fascinatingly, he deliberates the things in order to make some awareness about a classification of knowledge. First and foremost, I would like to quote one of the important ideas developed by and forwarded by Professor Jaser Auda. I think that is very much profound in order to understand his book. What he says, Islam has twofold. First one is revelation, second one is intellectual contribution. Revelation is perfect, comprehensive, holistic. It is relevant to all contexts, all time. It cannot be subjected to change. Whatever comes in the name of revelation, we need to recognize, acknowledge, and accept. The same thing, second one is intellectual contribution that comes from revelation. Muslim intellectuals contributed a lot, but they got the knowledge from the revelation. Quran and Sunnah, the primary source of knowledge according to our Islamic worldview and beliefs. So what he says, the revelation cannot be changed, but it is comprehensive, relevant. But intellectual contributions, human contribution can be subjected to change and debate and discourse and discuss. So while we are referring or reviewing or reading previous contribution, we need to take into serious consideration all things come from the efforts put up by previous scholars to derive some knowledge from the revelations. So this knowledge developed throughout the history can be changed, can be relevant, can be irrelevant. These kind of the things we must understand while we are discussing about the knowledge paradigm or classification of knowledge. Basically, he established this idea very strongly. So, Islam's these characteristics, revelation, human effort, should be differentiated. distinguished. While we are talking about the scholars' contribution, we need to understand that can be changed, that can be debated. These are the things very much important while we are talking about that. So, based on these ideas, he develops his sixth chapter, already mentioned this topic, Re-Envisioning Islamic Scholarship, Islamic Studies via the Maqasid methodology. What he says, mostly our classification of knowledge exists in the history impacted by the classification of knowledge of Aristotle. What he says, Ibn Sina, Farabi especially, as well as our scholars, Ibn Hazm, Ibn Khaldun also were impacted by this kind of classification of Aristotle. Aristotle classified knowledge into three basic realms. First one is theoretical sciences. He says knowledge is knowledge for the own sake, knowledge for this knowledge. That is not relevant to context, that is not relevant to period and time. Just we get the knowledge for the sake of knowledge. We are not applying, we are not practicing, we just get the knowledge, information and data according to Aristotle. This kind of classification impacted the classification of Farabi and Ibn Sina. They also adopted this classification, but they both included the Ilmul Kalam or Ilmul Ilahi, we can say philosophy of religion, into this classification. Second one is, according to Aristotle, productive science, which means phenomena, universal phenomena. We need to take some serious consideration in terms of universal sciences that should be learned, studied. Therefore, there is a practical or productive sciences. Third one is practical sciences. According to Aristotle, that practical sciences covered knowledge of action, like ethics, judgment, politics, arts. So Farabi, Ibn Sina also adopted this kind of practical side, but they included Ilmul Fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence, Ilmul Umran, civilization section. But Professor Jaser Auda, what he says, this classification also contributed to knowledge. Farabi, Ibn Sina also contributed a lot. But we have some serious concern and observation in terms of this kind of classification. So we need to revive this kind of classification, three classification, whether these kind of classification are still relevant or not. He submitted some basic and profound observations towards this kind of classification. I don't want to elaborate those kind of criticism due to time concern. Then I would like to move on to a second kind of classification also, which was developed by Imam Ibn Khaldun, Ibn Sina, Ibn Hazm. Imam Ibn Hazm divided knowledge very interestingly into two paradigms. First one is useful knowledge, ilmun nafi. Second one is detested knowledge, ilmul mazmoom. So we only can divide the knowledge useful and detested according to Imam Ibn Hazm. According to Imam Ibn Khaldun, he classified the knowledge into rational aqli and transferred naqli. Very interestingly, while we are going through referring to classification knowledge done by our previous scholars, they also seemingly have some differences between Ibn Khaldun, Ibn Hazm and Ibn Sina and Farabi. Also, they have different ideas. Among them, they all impacted, they were influenced by the classification of knowledge of Aristotle. That is the conclusion of Professor Jaser Auda, classification of knowledge. But therefore, he argues this classification, classical classification, need to be reviewed from the basic of Islamic worldview. That is very much important. Otherwise, we only accept and learn without criticism. We just copy and paste. We still revive those knowledges that was developed and classified before several years. So that is not relevant. Therefore, we need to be very critic in terms of this kind of classical classification. Still, we have a lot of benefits in terms of this kind of classification, but we need to take some serious consideration of this kind of knowledge while we are talking about relevantization of this knowledge. This is the first thing. Second one is modern. Currently, we see knowledge has been developed and classified into Western knowledge or secular knowledge and Islamic knowledge. Currently, we see knowledge basically is divided into secular and Islamic. For example, four kinds of classification we can see. First one is humanities. That includes arts, history, languages, literature, law, philosophy, and theology. Second one is social science. It also includes anthropology, economics, geography, politics, psychology, and sociology. Third one is natural sciences that also comprise biology, chemistry, earth science, astronomy, physics. Finally, applied sciences, which deals with business, engineering, health, computer sciences. So, currently, we only see these kind of classifications that are prevalent in the modern context without considering any other classifications. So, Professor Jaser Auda provided some serious concern in terms of this kind of two serious concerns forwarded by Professor Jaser Auda. The first one is the above classification does not put theology in this case. So, humanities, social science, natural sciences, and applied sciences. None of these classifications include theology as a discipline. That is a main concern forwarded by Professor Jaser Auda. Second one, many of the basic promises of the above sciences require critique from the Islamic point of view. We need to discuss very thoroughly and extensively this kind of classification, whether it is relevant or not, whether it is the Sharia complies, how far it accepts or not. Like that, we need to revive and critique from the point of Islamic worldview. These are the things forwarded by Professor Jaser Auda in terms of modern knowledge divided into classic and Islamic. Therefore, some scholars tries to currently we see scholars, Professor Ismail Farouqi, Naqib Attas, many other scholars also profoundly concentrated on developing these issues, this knowledge, and critics very seriously, harshly. They try to put up the knowledge into Islamic realm, that is Islamization of knowledge or integration of knowledge. But Professor Jaser Auda did not take this kind of classification, integration or Islamization of knowledge. Rather than he tries to explain other method. Directly he moves on to major discussion part in this chapter is Islamic studies. Professor Jaser Auda very seriously and extensively tries to revive Islamic studies, what was in present, in past, and previous days. Also, how we can adopt some ideas from previous things and what we need to do for Islamic studies, how we are going to contextualize, how we are going to Islamic studies be relevant to this context, what we need to do, these are the things based on Maqasid approach. Professor Jaser Auda forwarded some ideas. Basically, he divides Islamic studies, classification of Islamic studies into three patterns. First one is historical Islamic studies. What he says, basically we know tafsir, Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic hadith traditions, tasawwuf. These are the some examples for Islamic disciplines. These disciplines, how we are learning, how these disciplines are taught in the institutions, then we can see only previous scholars what they said, we only teach those ideas. That is why he calls this methodology can be marked and called historical approach of Islamic disciplines. We are not taking new ideas, what previous scholars have said, previous contributions, how we can quote like that. So Islamic studies mostly dominated previous ideas, previous contribution. That is one of the classifications. Second one, contemporary Islamic thought. Contemporary Islamic thought means now currently we see some new disciplines also adopted into our modern Islamic discipline patterns. For example, Islamic banking and finance or any other modern disciplines also incorporated in the system. We are approaching these ideas historically. What contemporary scholars say, what previous scholars said, what our forefathers regarded in this issue. So while we are taking into consideration, while we are reviewing the pattern that have been taught in the institution, we see even though these are the contemporary thought, but still we only maintain classical approach. Previous ideas, we are now trying to incorporate previous idea. Third pattern is Islamic studies in secular academia, which is a modern and contemporary phenomena that is prevalent in the west side. Mostly we see a separate department also exists in terms of religious sciences, religious studies. Under the religious study, they are also taking some subjects related to Islamic disciplines, so which is developing a phenomena in terms of Islamic discipline in the academia of West. So another major development we can see in terms of Islamic study, but this kind of academia mostly influenced by Orientalist approach or New Orientalist approach. Other than, apart from New Oriental approach, very few approaches and contributions also done by scholars of West genuinely in order to develop Islamic studies. Also we can see like that. So what he says, in these kind of drawbacks, concerns that has been forwarded by Professor Jaser Auda need to be taken serious consideration. So therefore he suggests four important methodology in terms of Islamic disciplines in order to contextualize and relevant to our current context. Firstly, he suggests first system is usuli studies. Usuli studies means we need to learn and study tafsir, hadith, fiqh, any other system, but we need to adopt and incorporate new ideas. We need to work very hard. Only defining, only limited to previous idea does not lead, does not help us to take or propose proper solutions or alternatives into our current issues and changing problems. So that is the main thing, usuli perspective. Second one, discipline is disciplinary studies. Second categorization is disciplinary studies, which means transdisciplinary actions need to be taken. We also see some scholars, universities also have already taken these kind of approaches, transdisciplinary action, different disciplines also to be meshed or incorporated into the realm. Third one, phenomena studies, that is very much important. Whatever we see now, currently, modern issues, universal issues, global issues, that is not confined to Muslim issues, but it should be a comprehensive and common issue. For example, poverty or health issues or environmental issues, any other global issues, we need to take serious into consideration. Otherwise, it will be outdated. So, disciplinary phenomena studies means poverty and other very useful studies and dimensions need to be incorporated into the Islamic realms. Therefore, but it should be from the perspective of Islamic worldview. Finally, strategic studies, fourth classification. What he says, we need to think for 30, 40, 50 years. We need to have scenario plan, strategic plan. Only we cannot think for 1 year, 2 years. Rather than we need to have some long-term strategies, how we are going to propose some new disciplines for coming years, after 10, 15 years, how our institutions and university could be survived. Only we need to think for long years. That is very much important thing. But that is why he identified strategic studies, which mean futuristic studies. So based on futuristic studies, we can easily suppose or propose very fruitful and meaningful courses and disciplines that can be contributed for the future generation. Finally, he concludes his chapter. Whatever we discussed, we need to understand three main dimensions. While we are talking about developing Islamic disciplines or any other disciplines, any discipline can be developed through three processes. First process is research. Research could be carried out very seriously. Past experience should be revived. Literature should be revived. So current systems should be studied based on these kind of researches. Secondly, we can move on to education. Second process is education. We need to educate our generation. We need to inculcate knowledge. We need to promote education. Through education, we can qualify, we can produce very caliber and qualified generation. It's the second thing. Third one, action, which is necessary for keeping both research and education oriented towards changing reality. Firstly, we need to develop our research capacity. Second, when we need to promote education and knowledge. both these knowledge and research, we need to promote action oriented works. We need to try changing phenomena and reality. These are the things Professor Jaser Auda elaborated in his chapter 6. That's why I thought to brief this chapter. So this is very much important. We all need to understand very seriously. We need to revive, we need to read, we need to debate these ideas. Just I forwarded this idea very shortly. Whoever wishes to read more, anyone can read into more. They can refer this book done by Professor Jaser Auda. Thank you so much for listening to me. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.